Welcome to the Natasha Helfer Podcast. To help keep this podcast going, please consider donating at natashahelfer.com and share this episode. To watch the video of this podcast, you can subscribe to Natasha's channel on YouTube and follow her professional Facebook page at Natasha Helfer, LCMFT, CST-S. You can also find all her cool resources at natashahelfer.com. The information shared on this program is informational and should not be considered therapy. This podcast addresses many topics around mental health and sexuality and may not be suitable for minors. Some topics may elicit a trigger or emotional response, so please care for yourself accordingly. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or feelings of Natasha Helfer or the Natasha Helfer Podcast. We provide a platform for open and diverse discussions, and it is important to recognize that different perspectives may be shared. We encourage our listeners to engage in critical thinking and form their own opinions. The intro and outro music for these episodes is by Otter Creek. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to the Natasha Helfer Podcast, where we go after shame any freaking way we can. And today we're going to do it with some humor, because who I have with me is one of my faves. I'm fangirling today. It's Mikey from Michael Foley, from radio personality, co-host of the Mikey and the Mrs. Show on Planet 105.1 in Southern Utah. He's widely known for his social media presence, creating popular videos on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, including his series of Your Mama's So Mormon jokes and poking fun at Utah culture. He can be found online everywhere at Mikey and the Mrs. I'll make sure and post that in the comment threads and all the show notes or whatever, so you can follow him. He's a lot of fun in real life, arguing with people in comic book shops because he can't help himself. I want to know more about that. Why are you arguing with people in comic shops, Mike?
I'm a freaking dork. That's why. You know what? I have learned, I'll just jump right into this. I have learned that manhood is just being able to lie better. So like if inside every man, we're like 13, 14 tops. That's our, like maturity level. But as we get older, we're just better at hiding it. So, this manly, whatever, and professionalism, stuff like that, it's a front. If you really get down to it, it's fart, poo-poo, pee-pee jokes, and they're still funny. And so I argue with people in comic book shops because
that's a fun thing to do.
Because someone has to stick up for Aquaman, and so I'll do that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so excited to have you on. I have been following you for a long time. You make me pee my pants quite often. It's very fun. It's not sexual.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people who pee their pants for fun. Well, maybe you know. You know more than I do. I'm not a part of that world.
We don't want to be shaming the peers.
That's right.
For sexy
whatever floats your boat and soils your cushions. You live your best life.
That's right.
I'm not here to stop
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. It sounds like, did you grow up in Utah? It sounds like you grew up Mormon. It sounds like you identify as such, although I'm sure people are always asking you the classic question, are you Mormon or ex-Mormon, right? So to give us a little bit of your history and how you came upon figuring out how to do this series.
Sure. So I grew up in Michigan and raised LDS. And so it was me, my brother, and I think a couple other people in the school district who were LDS, not school district. So nobody knew what a Mormon was. And when they did know, they knew the wrong stuff. And so I always was explaining to people. Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I was a military brat, so I grew up everywhere.
There you go.
So there you go.
So people are like, how many moms do you have is the number one question. Yep. The second one is, why don't you believe in electricity? Oh. And you'd be like, no, that's Amish, but an Amish guy looks like a pioneer. So I get it, but so I grew up in Michigan. And then when I was about 15, my parents divorced and I moved out to Las Vegas with my mom and went to high school in Las Vegas, then went to Southern Utah University for musical theater, and then met a girl, game over. Now I'm in Utah. And there was a mission in there somewhere as well. So I went to Milwaukee.
Oh, interesting. I lived close to Milwaukee for a while. So that's okay. So you kind of did the classic LDS things, although musical theater, that's kind of cool. That's not super classic. And how did you get into radio and kind of even developing this particular social media outlet?
Yeah. Well, once I got married at an embarrassingly young age, and then I got a divorce after 1 year, and then I remarried. I upgraded, I guess, someone who is more suited for me and me for her.
Okay.
And then I had to take on responsibilities. So I took on a bunch of jobs I hated for about 15 years. And then I got fired from selling tires.
Mm.
And then I was just driving around town and feeling sorry for myself. And I heard on the radio, we're looking for an outgoing personality to be on the radio. And I was like, that's me. I want to do that. So I drove over to the radio station and I charged up the stairs and I talked to the boss and said, I'm here for the radio gig. And he goes, do you have any experience? I said, no, but I'm really funny. And like I faked the confidence, And so he's like, all right, you're on Friday. Let's see what you got. And so I went on the air and apparently did a good enough job. And after a series of auditions, I got the gig. So I've been doing radio now for about 15 years.
Wow.
And doing it with my wife as co-host for about 10 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's what you do is the Mike and the Mrs. show on the radio.
With my lovely eternal companion. We both are on the air.
Okay.
And every morning here in St. George.
I love that. So then is your radio show mostly kind of what you're also showing on TikTok, or is it totally different? I'm not in.
Kinda. I mean, we're on a top 40 station, so our job is just to make sure people have a good time on their way to work, or school or whatever they're doing, and give them a couple of giggles. And so we'll take the news, then we'll take out the politics because, and then we'll just riff and have fun, and we'll play games and. The morning show kind of thing.
Morning show. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you bring that to TikTok in this fabulous way that you start making fun of our whole community?
Well, when you're on the radio, they always tell you, make it local, like do local stuff because, Spotify is nationwide and stuff. So our strength is local stuff. But all the stuff that makes Utah interesting is the LDS influence. That if you take that out, it's just Nebraska. It's just every other white town is just bleh, So you have to incorporate
mountains, Mike.
Yeah, Nebraska with mountains. Okay. It's Nebraska with mountains. So you put the Mormons back in, and then it gives all the flavor. And so I kind of had this thing where I have to acknowledge this, and at the same time not hurt anybody. At the same time, because you don't want to say something that's too offensive. That there goes my ratings like that. I have to please non-Mormons, Mormons, and ex-Mormons equally on the air. And so, we set up some mental guardrails of there's things we don't make fun of, and there's things that we can, and stay away from the doctrine, but the culture is fair game. And so I started making videos about that kind of a thing. And I started looking at the internet and seeing what was going on before me. And I was just noticing that it seemed very, very polarized, like most things are on the internet. There were the faithful Latter-day Saints who are making their content, dancing missionaries and stuff like that. And then you have the ex-Mormon content, which is, ha ha, look at garments, look how terrible they are. And I didn't want to do either one of those. I'm not trying to bring people into a church, and I'm not trying to drive them out of it either. I'm just here to, a lot of times I just feel like that kid, Mom and Dad, please stop fighting. I put on a play for you, I
love that.
Let's all have fun together. Remember when we were happy, And so I started doing content like that, and shouting it at statues and talking about your mom is so Mormon and stuff like that.
Your mom is so Mormon. Well, and I can totally relate to this. Before I was excommunicated, I would regularly host mixed faith marriage classes. And my best, note of success was when they couldn't figure out where I was myself in regards to my activity or my belief. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. And that both the believers and the non-believers are feeling seen or heard or validated by the materials I'm offering. And so tell me more about that, because that's a really hard balance. We're a culture that micromanages who's in, who's out. So, and you don't seem to like that very much, and neither do I.
Yeah. Well, and you realize there's no winning, because the number one thing that people do ask me is, are you active? Are you an active Latter-day Saint? And any way you answer that, it's not going to go well. So let's just break it down. If I say, yes, I'm active, okay, then all of the Mormon people that are watching my videos will complain that I'm not Mormon enough. They'll start to nitpick me about, oh, you shouldn't have made that joke, or you're making us look bad, or we're not all like that, or why are you saying Mormon? You should be saying LDS. They're going to be micromanaging me. Mm-hmm. But if I say I'm ex-Mormon, they're gone. Mm-hmm. They even the nicest of jokes. Mm-hmm. Similarly, ex-Mormons, if they think that I'm active, then all of my comments are cult, or the Book of Abraham, blah 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 blah, and you're like, can you give it a rest for 10 minutes? Like, just cool it, And so there was never really a winning thing there.
Right.
And so
you get discredited either way by a huge amount of people.
Because when they ask, are you active? They're not asking about my activity. What they're really asking is, whose side are you on? Mm-hmm. They want to know, are you one of us or are you one of them? Mm-hmm. And I hate that. I think this is an old mentality set up by Brigham Young many, many years ago. Don't trust outsiders. Don't trust ex-Mormons. Apostates are evil and they're wrong, and they leave the church but can't leave it alone, and all of this that I think we've outgrown it. We should have outgrown it by now. He's long dead. Stop doing that. So my main thing is, if it hurts, it's not funny. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's my one rule. I'm not going to hurt anybody. If I offend you, I don't care. I can offend somebody all day. Big deal. But if I hurt you, then I care. And there is a difference. I don't want people to feel less than, or that I'm shouting down to them, or that I'm bullying them because of something. That's not funny to me at all. I just want to hold hands and sing and dance and do some jazz hands and just wee, isn't that fun? So. Yeah.
Well, as a mental health professional, I mean, some of the principles that make life more mentally well are things like humor, like flexibility, like being able to poke fun at ourselves, like not taking ourselves so seriously. And so, while at the same time, belonging, I think what you're getting at too has a lot to do with belonging. Are you in or are you out? Are you part of us or are you not? And it is very sad when our ideas of who's in or who's out, get so kind of confined that we can't be in belonging with more people.
Yeah.
to these types of things. But the humor and the flexibility and the ability, I would say, I can poke fun at my brother because, I love him and I can tear him down all day long. But if you poke fun at my brother, then I'm cutting some tires, right? And so kind of like that with our community as well, right? Like, if you feel like you're in, then it's okay because you're one of us. So then it's okay that you're poking fun of us. But if you're out and you're poking fun at us, then all of a sudden it feels like
you get defensive. And that's perfectly understandable. I totally get that, especially because the internet has trained us to be extreme. It really has. Like, if you make a YouTube video and it's called Supergirl was an okay movie, right? The algorithm isn't going to pay attention to you.
Mhm.
They're just not. It's going to go ahead and tank because you're not getting engagement and rage baiting and stuff like that. If you make a video called Supergirl's the worst movie ever made, now all of a sudden it's going to
Yeah.
it'll take off. And so we have been conditioned and encouraged by social media to be as polarizing and douchebaggy as possible to each other. And so when I come along, just like, I'm not mean, but I'm being funny. I'm being irreverent, but not being, sacrilegious. They don't know what to do with me, and it drives people insane. Like they just want to put me in a damn category, and you're like, sorry, womp womp. Doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't be able to make these jokes if I wasn't a Latter-day Saint at some point, whether I am now or before. So that's right there. But I mean, if you're an eagle-eyed person and you're looking at the background, I mean, you're going to see things like this, and stuff like that. And
Which for those who are just listening, he just held up a pride flag. So
yes, like a pride flag. I'm not a rank and file. You know what I mean? But I'm not looking to burn down any chapels.
Yeah,
You know?
right. Well, and that's the thing too, right? Is that the spectrum is wide amongst us. We have,
Yeah.
Very Orthodox members of the church. We have more progressive members of the church. We have people who really don't go to church but still believe in the kind of the precepts. We have people who go to church and don't believe.
Yeah.
We have people who've left
Physically in, mentally out. You've got people that are just going to keep the peace, and there's a lot of stuff going on there.
There's a lot of stuff. So even just the in or out, the us and them, isn't wide enough of a brush to really include all of us. Even me as an excommunicated member, I still, wear my Mormon pride pretty good. And, it's just an interesting way that we try to mark belonging.
Yeah. And so it's always my goal to just tell everybody to chill out.
Chill out. Let's take a Valium and listen to some.
I'm not going to make fun of your garments, but I am going to make fun of your knee-length jean shorts that you wear because of your garments. You know what I mean? Like that's fair game, and that's funny.
Right.
So I'm not going to make you feel stupid.
Out of the feedback that you get, what's the stuff that both makes you feel good about what you're doing, and what's the kind of stuff that makes you question, like, oof, should I be doing this? Or like, do you have comment? Every now and then I hit a comment on my stuff that I'm like, this is hard.
Yeah. When somebody criticizes me and I don't agree with it, I'm fine. If someone criticizes me and I think they made a point, that wrecks me. Because then I'll look at it and go, okay, yeah. If they tap into my insecurities, and they just go, you think you're funny, but you're not, and things like that, yeah, you're right. I did think I was funnier than I was, that did hurt. But for the most part, people are pretty darn positive. I would say, but I get that little sliver of people who get upset, and they're almost always of a certain generation. And they're always the people who don't see a delineation between the culture and the doctrine. Their buckets of wheat in the basement is a spiritual thing for these people, where most Mormons, it's just funny, but that's very rare. The stuff that really makes me happy, the stuff that the biggest compliments that I can receive is when somebody will send me a message saying, hey, thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for making content that me as an ex-Mormon and my mom, who's a faithful Mormon, can laugh at together. We send your videos back and forth. One person said, I haven't talked to my mother in years.
Oh, wow.
And they sent videos of mine back and forth, and that got the wheels going so that they could finally relax enough to talk to each other without having a fight. And that is like, that's the stuff that really encourages me to keep on going and to keep making content for everybody. you know.
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, it's almost like we can use your channel as a family therapy tool. But I agree. I think to have like that common denominator, right? To find a common
Yeah.
denominator. Again, I work with so many mixed faith families, and I'm always trying to remind them they're so focused on their differences, but trying to find something they still have in common, still find something
Yeah.
brings us together, which we all have, we're all human at some level. And so I love that idea of being able to poke fun at things on both sides.
Well, like if you think about it, you've got ex-Mormons and you've got current Mormons. And one side believes the church is true. The other side believes the church is baloney. And from that perspective, you go, these two people don't have anything in common, but they do have something in common. What they have in common is both of them know what it's like to be active. And both of them know what it's like to be bored because they were active. And both of them know what it's like to watch their bishop fall asleep on the stand. These are things that you can bring up and laugh about because it's not hurting anybody. It's just every now and then you'll get somebody who's just like, oh, I don't appreciate you calling it boring. And you go, dude, drop it. You were in there with me. You saw it. That was boring. That isn't even an opinion. That is a stated fact. There was a teenager reading from the ensign on the pulpit. That is boring. And you know it. Just drop the mask. Let's get real for a minute. And that's funny. And so nobody's getting hurt by admitting that. It is what it is,
Yeah.
White people church is boring.
White people church.
I didn't say it was wrong. I said it was boring, So the church can be true and a drag at the same time,
Oh my goodness, that's funny. So, okay, well, so you are poking fun at a lot of these lighter sides of cultural quirks, right? But there's also like under the surface, I mean, humor always kind of talks to truth, like you're saying, it's only funny if it's true at some level. So we have this kind of expectation as LDS folks, and I think this really permeates the Utah culture in general. We see this a lot with like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or all these shows of perfectionism, of having it all together, of having a certain of being a certain way, of having your perfect little family. And so how do you see that perfectionism playing out in Utah culture, and where do you think comedy like yours helps break some of that pressure? Do you see an intersection there?
That's probably one of my biggest themes of my content is this mask that we put on. And you don't notice it until you become either inactive for a while or ex-Mormon, and then you go back in. But like to go to a baptism or something, if you've been away for a while, it's very obvious that everybody is acting a lot happier than they are. Because if you hang out with a bunch of ex-Mormons or never Mormons, they're going to keep it real all the time. It's when you go to your LDS neighbors where they're like, "Hey, how are you?" and you're like, ugh, calm down. What was that? So
we're extra happy and missionarizing.
Yes, they would call it, as I would have called it long ago, putting your best foot forward. So what's wrong with that? But along with that comes this idea that if you have doubts, or that if you are having problems or something like that, you're the only one. That we're all that's the big thing, is that, and I made a video about this, of, you know what? Everybody in Utah is happy. I'm the broken one. See, I look at Instagram, they have perfect kids, they've got the perfect vacations, they all make more money than I do. Everything is hunky-dory, they've got a bigger house, and it's all because they're doing great. I'm struggling, so there's something wrong with me. But what you don't realize is that everybody's doing the same fake song and dance. And it's really hard to be the first one on the dance floor, when you're at it. But it takes bravery to just step out and go, you know what? I'm not doing great. I'm not doing good. We should be at a point where we can very easily stand up in a testimony meeting and go, "Hi, everybody. My name is Mikey, and I'm an alcoholic," or whatever it is, and just go, "Okay." Instead of, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that?" My dad was a bishop twice growing up, and he was telling me how frustrating it is to be a bishop because he felt like standing up there and going, "None of you have any room to gossip. Every single person in here is all kinds of screwed up, including myself. And you're all just in this beauty pageant, walking around thinking that everything's perfect. It's not, and it's okay, that kind of thing." So I try to do that by playing characters, or just talking about the facade. The whole video about being a bad bishop that came about from me just thinking, what if a bishop in the night was injected with truth serum, like on a Saturday night, and then he showed up at church and he had no control over telling the truth. He had to tell the truth. What would happen? And so I made a video about it. And what happens is you're a terrible bishop. Because there's so much performance that is involved in being a Mormon. It's a very performative religion, very performative. But it would be so refreshing. And a lot of people, when they see the bad bishop sketches, they'll comment to me and go, "If you were my bishop, I would have stayed in the church," because I would have loved to see somebody keep it real,
Right. Are you able to share a few of your bullet points from that series? I know I've listened to a few of those, and some of them are like, just things you're thinking about as people walk in.
Sure. Well, one of them was, standing up in testimony meeting and say, "Okay, we're going to try something new this time. Are any of you familiar with the Gong Show?" Just, bong, get off. It's like, we would like to invite everyone up to bear their testimony, not you. Yeah. If everyone, not you, would like to come up, it's like, give it a rest for 1 month, lady. That kind of a thing. And I get a lot of DMs, direct messages from bishops that say, "I can't say this publicly, but you nailed it." This is what I wish I could say all the time, but I don't.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is, in a sense, what's a little sad about going to church is that it's not really a place where we can bear each other's burdens very well when we can't pretend we don't have burdens. Right. And so and I remember too, like, especially you'll probably relate to this, not growing up in Utah, but whenever we'd have new converts in outside of Utah, which is usually people who are coming from very different cultures and backgrounds, it's almost like they had this 3-month grace period to say all the real things, right? To get up there and say, I just had my last cigarette last night before my baptism, and I'm going to try really hard. And, they're not using the these and the thous, and they're not praying right. And they're not, and everybody sees it as kind of cute or comical or like, "Aw, isn't that so nice?"
Yeah.
Or brother so-and-so, they're just
learning
the gospel and they're learning, but you only have a certain amount of time before that stuff starts, like, you start getting corrected and you start learning pretty quickly that this is not an okay way to show up, is to really be real and to say, I've really struggled with my person, or with not yelling at my kids, or with, whatever things. We don't really talk like that at church.
No, and you deal with the shame stuff all the time, and I'm sure that, and you've brought this up a bajillion times, but it really is true. Me being just even a straight guy in the church, a straight, normal male, I felt I seriously was the only one who couldn't stop thinking about boobs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's something wrong with me, because the general authorities told me that all I got to do is sing a hymn. Or think of a hymn and it just goes away, but it doesn't work. So there's something wrong with me. I must be some kind of sick perv. And if it was that bad for me, I can't imagine the stress for someone who is gay or something like that. It's just, oh my gosh, but so even when you fit the mold, you still don't fit the mold. You're still thinking, I'm still not good enough. I'm still the weird one. I'm still the odd one out, And
Yeah.
so that's,
Yeah. You're talking about like those of us with privilege are still struggling. So imagine those who are marginalized, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And if anybody's watching this and they're thinking, no, you don't have a script at church. All right, well, think of it this way. Let's say they say, raise your hand, sustained by the raising of the right hand, all opposed by the same sign. And somebody actually opposed it. It would blow everyone's mind. Like the ward wouldn't even know what to do with it. Because I've never seen it in person. I very rarely, I don't think anybody else has either. So there is a script. There's a script, and there's the right way and the wrong way to Mormon. And yeah, when you're a convert, you have to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
And every Sunday school class is the same answers. Go to church, read the scriptures, keep the commandments, and Joseph Smith. Like it's
Right.
the same thing over and over and over again. And so, yeah, it's kind of hard to progress if you're just going by the book.
Yeah, because there's no real like strategies or solutions in that. Not that those things can't help. I mean, sometimes prayer and reading scriptures can be spiritual tools that can lead to wellness, but they're woefully unequipped if that's all you've got in your toolbox,
Yeah.
without an understanding of mental health and how that can impact people's brains and,
Mm-hmm.
whether you have ADHD or OCD or PTSD or whatever issues, it's a lot bigger than whether or not you're going to read a few scriptures in the book. So comedy in general is seen, I've talked it up like, okay, on this, it's flexible, it pokes fun, we don't take ourselves as seriously. All those things seem to correlate with better wellness. On the other hand, on the shadow side of comedy, it can be kind of a crossover into avoiding hard feelings or, not processing things. It's like, if I can just joke around, then I can avoid, having harder conversations or things of that nature. What are your thoughts about balancing kind of avoidance versus wellness?
If I knew how to balance it, I would tell you. Online, I'm fine. In my personal life, here's this whole thing about being real. Like I do crack jokes at a funeral. I will say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I will not be able to read the room sometimes. And sometimes I will use it as a crutch. Like growing up, I was the fat nerdy kid who was in band and into musical theater, and everybody treated me like garbage and stuff like that. But what I would do is I would use humor to beat them to the punch. So I would make fun of myself first, and things like that in order to, that way it wouldn't hurt as bad when they attacked me, and that kind of a thing. But if I knew what that balance was, I would tell you, but I still have that problem. I still have that problem.
Well, I'm the same way. I use humor as a deflection a lot. If I'm nervous, if I'm worried, if I'm trying to, cope with anxiety, I'll definitely usually crack a joke. And I think sometimes that serves me well and other times not so much. I also think I use humor quite a bit just intervention wise. As a therapist, I'm like, this is heavy. This is like, we're doing really heavy work. And so I will try to infuse some humor or some lightness even in heavy work, which maybe sometimes lands well and other times may not land as well, depending on who's on the other receiving end of me. So it is kind of this, like push and pull. What about the comment, oh, too soon? Like when somebody makes a joke about something that maybe has recently happened and we're all still struggling with the impact of it and somebody jokes about it. Is that?
I'm a pretty dark dude. Like I can joke about a tragedy pretty quickly after it, but I won't because I have a job. And being on the radio forces me. It really does force me to behave myself and to not be a total D-bag because I I can take the example of others getting canceled for things, and you go, oop, okay, I won't do that. I won't say that so soon or anything like that. You have to really read the room if you're going to crack, an assassination joke. You have got to read the room before a tragedy joke, or something like that. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I did make a here's one. I don't care about this. So a while ago, I was just talking to my kids about Ford's Theater, where Lincoln was assassinated. And I was just saying they should sell shirts that say Ford's Theater blew my mind. And half my kids laughed. The other one went, whoa, like that. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. Is it too soon? Was that too soon to tell that joke? Like, that kind of thing. It's like if somebody gets on my case about like a polygamy joke or something like Brigham Young or something like that. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too soon? Just we can't change the past. And it is so far in the past at this point. It's all right to giggle a little bit, not to demean it, but to giggle about it.
What topics seem to be most off topic? Like which ones are the ones that you feel like, oh, I mean, you mentioned doctrine. But what kinds of things do you feel like, it's probably distasteful versus things that you feel are more, I'll totally hit that.
Yeah. Here's another example. I'm not going to make a joke about the law of chastity, right? Because people take that very seriously, as you know, in your job. They take it very seriously, and they have suffered for it in their dedication to it. And if you do make fun of the law of chastity, they'll come after you. They'll just be like, oh, so you want everybody to be a slut? Is that the deal? And it's really, really touchy. But you can still make some fun of the adjacent. And so, for example, the law of chastity, not funny. I'm not going to pick on that. But the idea and the experience that many of us share, that our wedding night was the most horrifying and awkward, sweat-inducing horror show of our lives. That's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to make fun of a commandment, but you can make fun of what happens because of the commandment. And again, a comedian's job is to tell the truth. And that's the truth. It's so annoying when people in church are just like, well, sex is a beautiful act between two people, and it's very sacred and holy. And you go, okay, but it can also be super awkward, and it can be super nasty, and it can be, animalistic at times. And none of those things are wrong, but to just put it in one mold of it's too sacred to talk about. No, it's not. Which
is why none of us are prepared for the queefing or the, the on our thigh or whatever. I mean, it's true.
Yeah. It's like that comes out of there, what is, and, half the girls have never seen a naked guy before, but all the guys have seen naked girls before because, we have the internet. So there's that. But the women are, and the guy is like, I can't perform like the videos I've seen. They're just thrown into this mayhem. So that's funny.
Yeah.
Or
tragic.
Tragedy plus time is comedy. That's just, I can make jokes about my honeymoon.
Yeah.
It was not my best work.
It was not your best work. I can't imagine. Totally
you get better at it.
Comprehensive sexual education. Yeah.
Yeah. But Natasha, you can't say that your wedding night was your best work. No.
Hopefully none of us have reached our best work yet.
Yeah.
That's
still working at it.
Process.
Practice.
That's right.
Work. Yeah.
Right. What do you notice as far as the people who follow you? Is it a certain age group? Is it men versus women? Is it
looking at my they actually break it down for you, like on Instagram and stuff like that. I think my biggest audience is people about my age, so in their 30s and 40s, 50s. The younger crowd is too busy like dancing. I don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
But it's older, and it's a pretty even split between men and women. I think it leans a little more female. I know the radio show leans way more female, but that's because dudes stop listening to music around the age 25, and they start listening to either talk radio, sports radio, or podcasts.
Okay.
So there's something that happens in a guy's brain around 25 that goes, all right, I'm done with music now. And they just would rather be informed, you know?
Interesting. Okay. So kind of the Gen Xers a little bit, the millennials.
Yeah.
That are listening to you the most. And,
but I try to make stuff so that if the speaker is on the phone and mom is sitting next to her 7-year-old or whatever, there's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And I honed that skill by being on the radio, because we cater to moms who are driving their kids to school. So we can say something risque, but we have to do it in a way that the kid doesn't get it. Right. So it's an old-timey skill that was lost on TV sitcoms in the 80s. But you can do that. Like I just now said, it's not my best work. A kid wouldn't get that. But mom is going, yeah, so I try to keep it family friendly as much as I can,
Right. No, I get it. Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot. What is like a Utah cultural habit or trope that you secretly love? What is it about our quirky Utah selves that you're like, you know what? I still love this about us, even if it's stupid as hell or laughable.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I've never been asked that before. What is something that is quirky? Yeah. Okay. Everybody knows who their great grandfather is for some reason.
Yeah.
Like other people don't know that.
No.
Like in Michigan, they're just like, what was your grandpa's name? And sometimes they'll be, but like they use terms like pioneer stock and stuff like that's a special genetic thing, I think that's charming. And I think it's funny.
Pioneer stock stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid. The casseroles are fun.
I was going to say, you got to love the funeral potatoes. We were just talking about Jello salads and all the quirky things that go into Jello around here.
Oh, and when somebody moves in the neighborhood, you bring them cookies. I love that. I freaking love that.
Right.
And I like being able to just show up and go, hi, we're across the street. We have kids this age. Do you have any kids? All that kind of stuff. Minus the what ward are you in or are you LDS? I never would ask that, because that's weird.
Right.
But introducing yourself to strangers, being nice, smiling at people. It's okay. I was once in Pittsburgh and somebody had a baby in a stroller. And it was a cute baby. I smiled at the baby. The lady pushing the stroller looked at me like I was a pervert. And she was just like, what are you looking at? And I was like,
so here in Utah, we can smile at babies.
Yeah, you can smile at kids and nobody thinks anything, I have 5 of them at home. I'm sorry. You're the guy.
Right.
I didn't try to pick the kid up, sorry. But I like the friendliness of it. And the phoniness is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's better than being grumpy. It's better than being rude.
Yeah.
But if you take it to an extreme, you can really drive yourself nuts. But I kind of like the idea of being able to go, hi, when you pass somebody.
Right. Exactly. Okay, here's another. I have a few just kind of put you on the spot questions.
Yeah.
If you had advice to give to younger people, right? So let's say the 18 to 25-year-olds, the ones who are listening to music still.
Yeah.
Especially here in Utah. What kinds of things would you want them to know? And maybe some of your own kids fall into this category. I don't know how old your kids are, but you have 5 kiddos.
Yeah.
They're my kids. So what advice would you have for my kids?
Yeah. If they're men, I cannot stress this enough. Avoid the manosphere at all costs.
Okay.
I beg of you. Do not take advice from anyone who uses terms like high value male or
male
or yucky. If anybody ever goes, I'm going to tell you what women want. No, he doesn't. He doesn't know. That guy's an idiot. Because if he knew what women want, he would know that saying, I'm going to tell you what women want is the biggest turnoff in the world. This guy, there's plenty of like influencers and podcasters and stuff. They're basically sixth graders talking about how they think men are supposed to be. Like when you're in sixth grade, you think nice car, lots of money, tons of chicks, and you're doing all this stuff. It's not true. It's all a lie. Don't fall for it. For the love of all that's holy, stay away from the manosphere as much as you can. If you want to know what women want, talk to a woman. Converse with them. Go outdoors. Say hello. Just for the love of all that's holy. So there's...
Okay, well, that's a huge one. And I could talk to you about this all day long because we do see this influence so greatly. So what are your ideas as to why this is so popular and why, and maybe I would ask you like, why? You're saying don't do it, but why?
I genuinely blame the algorithm.
Yeah.
100%. We did not have this problem 10 years ago. We didn't. There was toxic masculinity, but it was like in pockets and we were able to kind of attack it. Right now, it's just this torrent. Because when you sign up for your Instagram account, you tell Instagram your age and your gender. And Instagram goes, oh, I bet you'll probably like this. You'll probably like this. And even if you don't like it, it's going to keep on sending it to you for some reason. Because it goes, lots of people like Andrew Tate. Lots of people like Joe Rogan. Lots of people like, these kinds of things. UFC fights and betting on sports and, that whole world. And I totally blame social media for that.
And the algorithm, we have people who are doing the research who are pretending to be the 15-year-olds and they'll put in 15-year-old male, 15-year-old female. And you immediately see what comes up, leaning those guides towards the manosphere. And boy, are you hitting on some, because now we got 5 comments coming in all the time. Kenley saying amen. Donica saying it's always a green flag when my male friends have female friends. Kenley saying, want to know what a woman wants? Ask a woman. So you got good points for that one. And then Donica saying we had this problem for sure. Some men just see it now. It's so disheartening because I feel like we did so much work, just over the last 50 years in trying to become more egalitarian as a culture, to stop the tropes and the characterizations of men and women being so different and needing so many, like we're all human at some level. We're all emotional. We all want human connection. We all want sexual connection. Most of us want sexual connection. Most of us want healthy relationships. And the messages that are getting infiltrated to the young men about how to go about success is just so scary. And so,
well, but you hear, we talk all the time about this loneliness epidemic with men, and it is real. It really is real. I'm not going to downplay that. It really is real, but it is so exasperated by this thing. So if a guy is lonely and he's not talking to girls, maybe he's a little chubby like I am or something like that, and they're feeling dejected or whatever, there is an army of douchebags online that will say, no, you're right, she's a bitch. Or, you know what I mean? And it's heartbreaking because if they don't hear the other side of this, they're going to fall into more loneliness. Because if you act like that all the time, no woman's going to hang out with you. They don't want anything to do with you. And I hear all of these horrible horror stories from women who go on a first date, and the first thing the guy says is, I want a woman who's going to stay home. And you just go, I don't know why I'm lonely. I do. I don't know a lot of lonely liberal dudes. Sorry, but I don't. This is,
Right. Well, and I think it's even more than just putting women down. It's selling these young men another version of like our culture, which is you're not enough. You're not, instead of now it not being religiously enough, or spiritual enough, now it's that you're not muscularly enough, or you're not rich enough, or you're not, you don't have the right kind of car or the right type of clothing. And they're all selling these young men all these products, right? It's what they're doing.
Basically what women have been dealing with forever. Yeah. With all of the plastic surgery ads and all of the weight loss ads and all of the makeup ads. You guys have been dealing with this forever. This is new for dudes. And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people making a lot of money off of insecurity, and they can't sell creatine to a guy who's happy with himself. They just can't, so they've got to say, you're a loser unless you buy this thing,
So Jeff Smith is saying manosphere thrives on poor sexual education. Curious on Natasha and Mr. Foley's take on how the Mormon manosphere differs from the broader secular manosphere. That's an interesting question. Do we think there's something there?
Yes.
Tell me.
I do see a difference. I think in the broader manosphere, it is far more focused on sex and anonymous sex and with as many partners as possible. That's how you prove that you're a man. And I think the Mormon manosphere is more of the dominance of man over woman, not overt, but we have this legacy. And I think it's a holdover from polygamy, where the guy goes to the girl and says, I had a revelation. You are to become my wife. And there's an entitlement there that goes with being a priesthood holder and with, you know what I mean? There's this weird kind of thing. And if I look back, I think I was guilty of it too, to a degree, that I thought, you're a helpmeet to me. And that's your role. And don't worry, I'll take care of everything. But as long as I have a full stomach and, and I'm getting it whenever I want, I'll take care of you, and it's still there. It's still really strong. And guys really, really have to figure out how to realize that a female is genuinely your equal, not just the lip service of, we're equal, but we have different roles. No, I mean like equal.
Yeah. And Donica makes a point. She says men are not like this, and matrilineal societies are capable of nurture and leading with us, meaning women. And so there's quite a bit of historical information to read on that. A lot of this is very environmental. And I do think, even though you're alluding to the fact that the secular manosphere is kind of like, go have sex as much as you want, I am seeing like a real return to some weird, like conservative ideas around sexuality too, like it's degenerate or body count matters, and even directed to them. And I even see some of this with old masturbation tropes and like this idea that you shouldn't masturbate to, have your masculinity ready to go. Even in like sporting types of circles, there's a lot of sexual shame wrapped up into this whole idea of how sexuality is being approached in this younger generation for sure.
Right. The same guys who are spending all their time watching OnlyFans are the same guys who are denigrating the women on OnlyFans. They're just like, oh, you're a disgusting, whore and all these terrible things. But they're the ones that are chucking money into it and taking a part of it, it's just, it's really gross. But there's a lot. Yeah, you're right. There's an awful lot of shame that's kind of wrapped up in that too.
Yeah. Kenley says the term all men need is food, sex, and sleep to be a happy husband was what I grew up with in the church. So
yeah. Thanks, Dr. Laura. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, next question really fast. If you were writing a mental health survival kit specifically tailored for living in Utah, what items would be in it? Do you just love how I'm lobbing you these questions?
Yeah, these are wild questions.
I would have wanted to be prepared for these, and I did not prepare you for these. I'm just letting everybody know I'm putting him on the spot.
Well, you know what?
You're a comedian, so all of a sudden I have different expectations of you. I'm so unfair.
No, I should be able to do this. I was in comedy sports, for heaven's sakes. I am an improv comedian. I should be able to just spout things out. Zip, zap, zop. But, oh my gosh, survival kit. Well, first off,
mental health survival kit.
The official Utah mascot is Zoloft. Thanks, Zoloft. If it weren't for you, oh, God, so beautiful.
I do think we have more antidepressant use than most of the country. So there you go. You're right on track with that one.
Yeah, but that's because everybody else is perfect, but I'm the broken one. We've already discussed this.
Right.
That's why I'm on antidepressants. No one else is, just me, because I'm falling short. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. That's such a weird question. I don't even know what kind of items that you're looking for.
I don't know either. I mean, what would be fun to think about? Like, I guess we can stay on the substance track and get your medical card and or make sure you understand the liquor license laws here in Utah.
I live in St. George, and Mesquite is right down the road. They have a lovely pharmacy that a lot of people go to.
Yes.
For their inhalers. And, it helps a lot of people out. Really does. So I've heard.
So you've heard. Yes, exactly. Right. I don't know. You might need a little translator for like Mormon cultural like language, like talking a different language, right? So
they kind of do. I think the number one thing that will get you through it is realizing that everybody is free to do what they want to do. And you have to have a ceasefire in place, especially if you're not LDS. You have to have a ceasefire in place and an understanding that I am not going to try to take you out of my church if you don't try to pull me into yours. Can we agree on that? And if we can agree on that, we can do whatever we want. So whatever I do on Sunday and whatever you do on Sunday are both equally fine. If you want to sing hymns, awesome. If I want to go to the pharmacy, awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever. It has no bearing on my character as a human being. So yeah, a ceasefire is important.
A ceasefire would be nice. Yeah. I mean, sadly, for a lot of the people who move here who are not of our culture is, usually they will have stories about being ostracized, not being included in events. I think some of that happens probably innocently, because church ward communities are already so involved. And so those folks are so spent for
they're tight knit already. Yeah.
And their time is like callings and church activities and they're doing it with the people that they go to church with. So I think that leans towards some just natural like isolation for others. But then there are, I think, also the other parts of that. Like you said, you started off with Brigham Young saying distrust others. So these are the stories I hear of people like, well, my kids, don't get asked to prom because they're the only non-Mormons in the community, or my kids don't, get invited to the parties, or we don't, other than just them being polite and handing out their missionary cookies, they're not really asking us to dinner.
Well, and the prom thing, really, if you boil it down, in my opinion, is just all about, I am terrified my kid's going to have sex.
Well, yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. They're genuinely terrified all the time that's going to, as if losing your virginity changes your DNA or something. It's that there's all of that anxiety and that stuff that, chewed gum and all of that stuff that just, there's fear. It's a genuine fear that something horrible will happen, that they'll slip up before the wedding day. That these kinds of things are just, once you get rid of that though, it's like everything's fine. You lose your stress really easy,
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. Okay, here's my last question because I know we're coming up on time. Sure. And also, if you want to tell me anything that I didn't ask you about, that's great too. But we got to end with soaking.
Oh, gross. All right. Okay, Natasha.
What's your soaking list of jokes?
Dr. Helfer, listen. Okay, is that real? Because I'm still on the fence. That is so flipping weird. That I mean, you hear people making jokes about it on the internet all the time and on TV and stuff like that, and I go, this was not a thing. When I was a teen, this was not a thing. I mean, we dealt with other dumb stuff like oral is moral, like that's stupid, and then or the as long as it's the back door, it's not. People came up with all kinds of weird things, but the soaking thing is so on another planet, insane. As if God is a T-Rex and like he can't see you if you're moving, if you're not moving, like that's so weird.
Yeah.
Is it real? Please
Well, I do have firsthand accounts of it being real, like people who have told me that they either participated in this or were participated on, or who knew people, which that's secondhand, right? So
Yeah. I need contemporary firsthand accounts.
Firsthand accounts that it has happened. And I don't mean that to me. I was not a soaker. I was just a fucker, I guess. But I got in trouble for that. But
we have a new bumper sticker available on Natasha's website. I ain't a soaker. Yeah.
So which one are you?
But I am. Yeah.
But I will say, like, this speaks to something I think bigger, right? Like you're talking oral is moral, backdoor, the backdoor doesn't count, or this is something that I think is fascinating. And I will say this in as non-shaming of a way as possible. I'm not really trying to shame. Like, I get why people would soak, or I get why the backdoor or the oral is moral, because it's, on the one hand, people are like, but don't they get that if they went into a bishop and talked about what they were doing, that they still wouldn't pass the, quote unquote checklist? And then on the other hand, when we are so desperate for outlets that we don't have outlets for, this is where we do get wonky. This is where, I have a good friend of mine, Amy Heffernan, she always says, this is where things get squeaky and leaky.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have a normal outlet for these things to just kind of evolve as they naturally would, then people get creative and sometimes in ways that are really harmful, right? Like I'm a big fan of anal by all means. I am not a big fan of 15-year-olds or 17-year-olds going to the back door, because that's a way for them to still consider themselves virgins.
Yeah.
And they're not equipped to have regular sex, much less anal sex, successfully, without pain, without trauma, without coercion, without all the things. So I think it speaks to a bigger.
Well, and let's be honest, it's not even just the sex thing. I think it's human nature that when we get a restriction on something that we really want to do, we're going to get creative and find a way to do the thing without getting in trouble. I mean, that's what the entire legal system is. That's what a defense attorney does. There's a difference between murder and self-defense. There's a difference between, this and that. It's the same reason why they're drinking Monster energy drinks instead of coffee.
Right.
It's the same reason they're watching TVMA TV shows, but not rated R movies.
Right.
Same damn thing.
Right.
But as humans, when we want to do something, we're going to find a way to rationalize our behavior. And when the general authorities are not specific from the pulpit, it gives so much wiggle room, or so much soaking room, to do whatever you want to do other than, intercourse. It's like, so if we're not moving, it doesn't count. Deal. Let's do it. It's just, it's the tax code is all it is,
Right. I do. I agree. I think it's very much human nature. It's dealing with the forbidden. It's dealing with, totally suppressed sex drives that we have no outlet for. We can't even, we can't even masturbate.
Yeah.
But Jeff says soaking put us on the social media TikTok fast track. When people discover I'm Mormon, the first thing they ask is if I soaked. I always tell them, no, I'm the designated jump pumper.
Yeah, I'm not soaking. That's weird. I'm the guy jumping on the bed. And then just do it with as straight a face possible.
That's right.
Eye contact the whole time.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm not weird.
Yeah. I'm actually a big fan. I'm like pro soaker. I'm like, if that's how you get your way of dealing with something, I'm all for it.
But it is but you can't make eye contact with your roommate at BYU after that. It just makes Sunday school weird. And you're gonna feel weird taking the sacrament. You will feel weird. Oh
my gosh, I love it. Well, compared to a lot of the other issues that are going on sexually, I'm like, I'll take soaking any day.
That's true.
All right, Mike, I have loved this so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you wanted to share with me that I didn't ask you about, or that you were dying to say on here that I didn't even give you time to consider.
Well, I had a lot of questions about the nerve endings and the taint, but I can ask that off the air. That's fine.
And they came out with the clitoris map just this year. So there's all kinds
on the map.
There's all kinds of information for you.
Talk about really putting a halt on the evening. It's just like, no, honey, just a second. There we go. Yeah.
That's right.
How do I fold this back up again? Oh, man. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. You're going to be speaking at Sunstone. Is that correct?
I am. Yep. I will be there Saturday at 4:25.
Okay, there you go. I'll be speaking at Sunstone as well. So for those of you who are listening, if you don't know what Sunstone is, go look it up. Sunstone Symposium. It's one of the coolest, I think, Mormon cultural gatherings around, because you get the whole kit and caboodle who meet there, from the plural families to the ex-Mormons to the believing Mormons to the feminists to the historians to
it's Mormon Comic-Con, and I'm there for it.
It's Mormon Comic-Con.
We should do we should do some cosplay.
We should. We'll have to call each other and figure out what we're gonna do. And then the Mormon Mental Health Association is happening at the same time. So if you happen to be a therapist or a mental health provider of some sort, we'd love for you to join us there. And also just a few more announcements. My Reclaiming Female Sexuality group is coming up August 4th. It's the only time I'll be offering it this year. So I have room for about 20, and it's about 3/4 of the way full. So if you want to join me, there's still a bit of time for that. My next ethical non-monogamy group is coming up in October. And I believe my male sexual shame group, which is for those guys who were told they were sex addicts and couldn't touch their own penises, and all that disaster that we have going on in this culture as well. That, I believe, starts in January. I believe it's in the beginning of the year. So if you're interested in any of those things, reach out to me, natashahelfer.com. If you're interested in following Mike, tell us more about where people can find you.
On all the socials at Mikey and the Misses, except for X, because that I don't like Nazis. But so Mikey and the Misses, and Instagram and Facebook and Tickety Talk.
And Mikey is spelled Mikey, and Mrs. MRS. So, and follow him. He's so much fun. I just have so much fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Okie dokie.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Natasha Helfer Podcast. To help keep this podcast going, please consider donating at natashahelfer.com and share this episode. To watch the video of this podcast, you can subscribe to Natasha's channel on YouTube and follow her professional Facebook page at Natasha Helfer, LCMFT, CST-S. You can also find all her cool resources at natashahelfer.com. The information shared on this program is informational and should not be considered therapy. This podcast addresses many topics around mental health and sexuality and may not be suitable for minors. Some topics may elicit a trigger or emotional response, so please care for yourself accordingly. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or feelings of Natasha Helfer or the Natasha Helfer Podcast. We provide a platform for open and diverse discussions, and it is important to recognize that different perspectives may be shared. We encourage our listeners to engage in critical thinking and form their own opinions. The intro and outro music for these episodes is by Otter Creek. Thank you for listening.
There is a place where time slows to nature's pace, and there is space there to find yourself in her embrace. Some places should be left alone. Now say the Navajo, so we can always go to the homeland of the heart. Etched on her hide Earth's mysteries. Some places should be left alone. Nahotish kishay so we can always go to the homeland of the heart, to the homeland of the heart. Deep in our cities, we sleep without her stars, yet still her presence sustains us from afar. Some places should be left alone. So we can always go to the homeland of the heart, to the homeland of the heart, to the homeland